Hi, welcome to Perri Pierre podcast. I am your host, Perri Pierre. Our guest today is Romany Malco. He's an actor, music producer, and now filmmaker. His latest film, Tijuana Jackson, Purpose Over Prison, has been released last month and is available on YouTube, iTunes, Amazon, and more. So, Romany, welcome. How's it going?
It's going really good. Thank you very much for having me here. I'm exhausted and excited at the same time, and I'm like everyone else. I'm trying to figure out how to make it and do well in this COVID-19 era.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's been a little bit stressful in the past four or 5 months.
It has been.
So you were born in Brooklyn. I was born in Brooklyn too, but your parents are from Trinity, right?
Yeah, man.
But
I got a very crazy, like, Trinidadians. We're Indian. Well, let me speak for my family. We're basically African, Indian, and Venezuelan.
Yeah. Wow. But you didn't grow up in New York. You grew up in Texas, right?
Well, I grew up in New York, off and on in Trinidad and Tobago, and in Texas.
Oh, okay.
In fact, to be honest with you, I'm still growing up.
Of course, there's always growing up to be happening. And then you obviously you started in the entertainment industry as a rapper. You used to be part of a group called RMG, and then later on it became College Boys, right? Who are some of your inspirations as a rapper?
As a rapper, I was very influenced, of course, by Run DMC, Rakim, but even before that, probably my biggest influence of all was a guy named Mark, Trinidadian dude, Indian dude. We all knew a guy named Timmy in our neighborhood. Timmy had gotten shot. And we were all kind of sitting there just kind of feeling sad at my buddy Eddie's house. And Mark starts doing a beat with his hands. And he goes, I heard a shot. I heard a cry. I said, Timmy, 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 did you have to die? And when I realized that he could express his feelings through a rap, something in my brain locked onto that. And I knew at that moment that was what I wanted to be for the rest. I wanted to be a rapper. And then from there, I started observing and following and emulating myself after the greats like Houdini. Yeah. I thought Houdini was amazing. It was an amazing group. I thought that I mentioned Run DMC. I thought Rakim. There was a group called the Rude Boys. There was a group called Yo Kango. I don't know what's the name of the group. UTFO. I think the Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five were definitely some of my favorites. I think that LL Cool J, early Salt and Pepper. I heard a song by Salt and Pepper when they first came out called I'll Take Your Man. And I was like, I want to make music like that. Public Enemy was one of my biggest influences. Did I mention NWA?
No, yeah.
Eric B. and Rakim. Slick Rick was another one of my favorites. Who else did I like? Dougie Fresh was perhaps hands down the most influential show I ever saw in my life was by Dougie Fresh. I'd never seen anyone command a stage like that. And don't get me wrong, I also love like Africa Bambaataa, Boogie Down Productions. For me, KRS-One was definitely one of the most influential rappers of my life. Curtis Blow, believe it or not, and all these, and Houdini, Beastie Boys, even though the audio too. Milk this chili. Queen Latifah was also a big one. And when I heard Miss Melody's rap on Ladies First, when I heard her verse on Ladies First, that kind of changed. I can go on forever, man. I go on.
Yeah. But what about right now, though? Like, what about some of the rappers that are on right now? Who would you say are some of your favorites?
Some of my favorite rappers right now. That's interesting because the game's changed, and please don't take this the wrong way. It's not that I don't appreciate the rappers of right now.
Yeah, but it's becoming something else for sure.
It's that you don't get albums. You get songs, you get singles, right?
Yeah.
You get one-offs. You get, and you might get a mixtape here and there.
Mm-hmm.
So what makes me fall in love with a rapper and be like, damn, I'm in love with this
It's the
rapper is
body of work, right?
the body of work.
Yeah.
And so when I'm getting these one-offs, it's very difficult. So I don't care what nobody says. There's a woman named Lady London. She ain't out yet, but she will be. Lady London is cold. I'm trying to think of who else. You know, even though I feel like he's kind of sat back, I kind of watched Lil Wayne grow up, and way back in the day,
like
I
early
kept telling my
2000s,
little
right?
brother, I was like, dude, this kid is clever, and he don't even curse on his records. It's crazy how clever he is. And my brother was like, man, you always like that Southern stuff. But no, Lil Wayne was always a standout. He was always a standout. I bought his first album. He was always a standout to me. Because I like lyrics.
Right.
So, but now, you know, I hear great songs by all these kids. You know, all these kids make, huh?
Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah. Well, you know, Kendrick Lamar is an album that he has albums that I actually listen to. I think J. Cole, I listen to a J. Cole album top to bottom. You know, I listen to a Drake album top to bottom too, though. You know what I mean?
I like Drake.
Yeah, I do too, man. And so I haven't heard anyone in a long time that influenced me in the way that those kids did. Like over time, you know, people like Juvenile really influenced me. I feel like Nas influenced me over time. Lil Wayne seriously like moved me. Like these are people that I looked at as they were coming up. Drake influenced me because of his work ethic and his ability to make quality music, you know. And straight up, a lot of the people or some of the people that I really enjoy now, you know, ain't even signed, man.
Really? How do you even find out about them though?
You know, there's a mixtape, or you can follow them on Instagram.
Okay.
You know, and like right now for me, I look forward to like practically every day, Lady London drops a verse on Instagram, and I just look forward to that. I'm not even kidding.
Wow,
That's so awesome. Nice. She's so nice with it.
Yeah. So it was while you were working as a music producer for the movie Pest that you met John Leguizamo, who encouraged you to.
Yeah, his name's John Leguizamo. John Leguizamo.
Okay, Leguizamo. Okay. Yeah, who encouraged you to pursue acting as a career. How did you transition from music to film?
I really didn't transition from music to film. That's a huge misconception. After music, you know, I had bills to pay. And so I started doing craft service on for commercial sets. My buddy had actually the girl that I was dating, her ex-boyfriend had a craft service company that he would do craft service on commercials. And so I started helping him do that. And then I saved enough money to start an internet business that I started in 1996. That internet business paid me more than entertainment had ever paid me, gave me more stability, gave me more control, gave me more autonomy. And then I was like, you know what? I don't think I'll be dealing with entertainment anymore. This digital world is all what this is, because no one knows what color you are. They just want good product and good service. Yeah. I was the only internet business at the time that would provide you with a number you could actually call 24/7 and get someone to answer the phone. I was going all out. I was enjoying my life. I was traveling. I started going to Japan, and I started going to France. I started going to flying back and forth to Hawaii, playing golf. It was like changed my life. And then John Leguizamo called me and was like, yeah, I'm doing this album, and I'm doing this thing for my movie, and I want to rap like that cat you wrote for without Paula Abdul. Yeah. And we started hanging out, and his wife at the time was like, yo, you hang out with comedians all day. Tell me Ron ain't as funny as them dudes. He should audition for your movie. So he had me audition for his movie, and they called me back 6 times. And on the last callback, they did something called the mix match. And the mix match is when they partner you up with different prospects, and you guys improvise quite a bit. And honestly, I didn't know how to do that at the time. So I didn't get the job, but the casting agent apparently, and it went away. And then a year later, everybody started calling my house, telling me they needed me to come audition for stuff. And I didn't know how they got my number, nothing. The casting agent had told them I was her favorite audition of all time. And then so what I ended up doing was, they ended up doing was tracking me down through the music union. That's how all these different productions found me, and agents and whatnot. And then I just kind of chose the agent that I felt most comfortable with and went from there.
Oh, okay. Are you still represented by that agent?
That agent became a manager. And for a minute there, I didn't even know if that agent was going to be in the business anymore. But no.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. But which movie would you say changed the course of your career as an actor?
Two movies changed the course of my career. One is a little film called well, actually three movies. So one is a little film called The Chateau that I did with The Chateau, which I did with Paul Rudd. I played Paul Rudd's brother, and it was a little indie that we did for 13 days early in my career, and it ended up being loved and adored in some festivals, which we had a blast with. That movie got me the job of the 40-Year-Old Virgin, which also aided in changing my career. And that's how I say that The Chateau changed my career, is because it actually got me a mainstream job where I wasn't asked to play the black guy, I just asked to play a guy.
A guy, right?
Right?
Yeah.
A young dude trying to get laid a lot.
Exactly.
And that was great. And it really, from that point forward, it kind of put me in a position of being offer only. And it really opened my eyes to the impact of like what it means to have mainstream success and what comes with it. And then the third movie that changed my career was a movie called Think Like a Man, where it was the first time I'd actually been hired on a black production. And so now I was able, because of the success of that movie, it becoming a mainstream movie, it showed me what it was like to have success in that way and how differently the press treats you when it's a predominantly black production. You know, we got all the press in the world on Think Like a Man too, but in the first Think Like a Man, they wasn't checking for you like that. It was
really?
very eye-opening, very eye-opening. And so those three things changed my life, changed my career. I have more choices now, and also I have a better understanding of how the industry actually works.
Wow. Any interesting story from the set of 40-Year-Old Virgin?
I just always say this, but I really love Seth Rogen's work ethic. Judd would be like, I need 20 jokes. And Seth Rogen would just go get a chair, go away from everybody because we were constantly rambling. And he'd write 20 jokes. And I'd go over there. You need help, bro? He goes, sure. Very collaborative.
Wow.
And that gave me a better idea of what it would take.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah, you've worked with Will Packer on multiple projects, and personally, he's someone that I admire for what he does. How is it like working with him as a producer? And I know he kind of exec Tijuana Jackson now, but how has it been like working with him?
It's been good because Will is he's a very accessible guy, and he's pretty grounded, but he's very intelligent. He's very observant. And where I'm like, if me and Will were Run DMC, I'd be Run, he'd be DMC, right? I'd be running my mouth the whole time, right?
And just thinking,
he'd be chilling in the background, observing, calling shots. He has this knack to like look at things and then figure out how they work, but he does that with people too, and he deals with each personality accordingly. Wow. And so I love that about him. And I think that he's been an incredible influence, man. And the goal here is to really like borrow from those qualities, and be more like him myself.
Yeah.
He knows how to keep us cool. You don't see Will go off the deep end.
Oh, okay.
And people have power trips in this business all the time. No. He's not that guy.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I know in Think Like a Man, you had like an amazing ensemble cast. How was the camaraderie, I would say, on the set?
I think it's the only reason the people showed up. It's because they knew they were going to be in the presence of good people.
Yeah, let's talk about TJ, Purpose Over Prison. Okay, so I watched this movie this morning.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, because I was like, all right, I have to, I found it on YouTube, so I paid and I watched it.
Thank you.
I really liked the film, man. I thought it was great. And in about 90 minutes, you're able to send a great message to ex-cons who are trying to turn their lives around after imprisonment. And I also like the irony of it. Having to see like somebody who's done messed up, but who's right now trying to tell people, try to be to motivate people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I live for the irony, bro. I live for it.
I know, and then I like each character's arc as well. I don't want to give too much away, but I like, even your character. I mean, TJ, like where you started and then where you ended up. It was like, this is really really nice. The lesson in it as well. But how did you even come with that story, and then what compelled you to write it?
What compelled me to write it is what compelled me to create the character in the first place. I just, I don't know what it is, man. It's a certain demographic of people, at least in the country that I grew up in, at least just when you experience any level of poverty.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say poverty, I don't mean that you are, dirt poor. I just mean,
Yeah.
because there's different degrees of poverty,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I just mean, you're not given the type of information that aids in sustaining your livelihood, sustaining or building a better livelihood for yourself, or being able to, you know, have some control and some say in your destiny, And some of the things that I wish I had learned earlier was just how to attain peace of mind. What's the difference between, achieving success and achieving fulfillment?
Right.
How do you what's the proper decorum for sitting in a room full of investors and pitching your idea?
Mm-hmm.
How do you buy stock? How do you process and communicate pain? Right? What is trauma?
Mm-hmm.
And how does trauma affect your day-to-day decisions? And I made this character to teach those things. I wanted to communicate those things to the people who grew up in communities like I did. And that slowly led to creating this movie. And when I wrote the screenplay, I was like, look, I work on studio productions all the time. I work on network TV all the time. I don't want to tell stories, even though I know it would appeal to a broader audience. I don't want to tell those kind of stories. I don't want to give unrealistic, sensationalized plot points just to satiate the needs of the masses. Because when it really boils down to it, the masses don't really give two shits about the people that I'm trying to reach. So my goal was to make this for the people that I felt like it would matter to most, and help them see that success defines itself more so in the world of fulfillment than it does in the world of monetary gain, right? And I also wanted to help people develop a better empathy for people who are coming in and out of the joint, understanding where they're coming from, understanding why they have the disposition that they have, understanding that aside from household trauma, there's trauma that you have to endure growing up in juvenile hall and prison. Yeah. And that's for 20 years, that's been my mission. And what put me on that mission is growing up in communities where I see brothers get let out of prison and nobody messing with them. And then they'd end up going and hurting themselves. Yeah. Or going back to jail because they had no community on the outside, and they had a caste system that was trying to keep them down as third-class citizens. And I really felt for them brothers. I really grew up feeling for brothers like that. And I felt like this movie could serve as therapy and motivation.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. I mean, in the movie, you mentioned something like purpose over success, and I think it was so interesting. I remember like when I was in school, I went to Pepperdine University in Malibu, and we had someone coming over to talk to us about a studio and everything, and then she was like, "Listen, you gotta have a reason to do all of this, going to film school and everything, because I know people that are rich that live in Malibu, they're driving Teslas, but they're not really happy, despite the fact that they have the money and everything." So I think, that's very important. I think also during your press tour, you said that something like when you're pitching a movie to a studio or to a film company, they always encourage you to, like, if you're a Black producer or whatever, to tone the movie down so you can reach a broader audience. But when the movie's finished, they're like, all right, we're only gonna release the film to certain cities. It was like, okay, so what's the point?
Yep. Homogenize it so that we can distribute it to a domestic Black audience.
Exactly.
Absolutely no sense. They're just thinking along the lines of what is Target going to buy in bulk.
Yeah, exactly. And I know you tried to pitch the movie to different producers and studios, and they said no. So what made you decide that you were gonna make the movie on your own?
Just had the revelation that I was Hollywood's side chick, meaning I was getting a bunch of promises, but they wasn't planning on taking me nowhere. They wasn't really trying to commit to anything that I had to offer. And when I had that revelation, I knew at that point that I was probably better off, because I didn't want to tone it down. I didn't want to behave. I don't think, I've always looked at it as if Hollywood was not really open to the idea of unadulterated Black voices, or at least not educated ones, because that would completely contradict all the messages that Hollywood has helped to perpetuate the cycle that we're in now. And so I was quite comfortable going about it this way. It meant a hell of a lot more work, and it could have potentially meant something that would have disappeared and no one would have seen. It could have meant that, I got lucky. But I feel like truth always eventually finds its path, man. It eventually finds the eyes of the people who are open to it. So with the way that I structured, I made my movie, wrote the script, and structured my distribution deal with the same vision in mind, which is that this thing will be out there and living forever. I can sell it for the next 10, 15 years if I want to, and I will. And it'll, and the truth will eventually fall, on the ears of those who are open to it.
Yeah, and I know you own it too, so like that's that's just amazing. How many drafts would you say that you wrote before?
I like to say 46, but probably more like 50, 55.
Okay.
Yeah, I kept going over and over it. Blake Snyder was a mentor of mine, so sometimes I'd do a draft and I'd send it to people that I had met in the Blake Snyder workshops, and we would critique one another's things, and slowly but surely they helped me crack the story by saying, no, I think that this doesn't seem realistic, or this isn't working, and then eventually they'd be like, dude, you cracked the story. And I remember getting that note from a writer in San Francisco that I love, and I was like, you think so? She's like, yeah, you cracked the story, dude. And then from there, I had 30 more drafts to go.
No, I think you definitely did. I like how you approached it from the eyes of the the student filmmakers. I really like that idea. You mentioned that your manager said that you are an establishing actor, so you shouldn't use crowdfunding to raise money for your films. And I wanted to point out that other establishing actors and filmmakers have done it as well, including Spike Lee. So I commend you for doing all that you could, to get this movie off the ground. Did you cast the movie, by the way?
Yeah, I met with every single actor in that movie. Every single one, 10, 15 minutes. But I did hire a casting agent. And here's the funny thing. I hired a commercial casting agent called Esther Casting.
Oh, okay.
And she bought in people who worked in commercials, who'd never acted a day outside of a commercial in their life.
Oh, okay. Which
was ideal. Because if you kept seeing celebrities in the movie, you'd be popping out. You wouldn't be seeing a documentary, would you? A mockumentary, you'd be seeing, oh, there's so-and-so. Oh, my God. And look, I'm a friggin' fan of Mike Epps. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I love me some Mike Epps. I love me some friggin' Ethan Hawke. I love me some friggin', Kevin Hart. I love me some. So, but I Michael Ealy,
yeah. And I think the kid as well, I don't think I've ever seen him in anything. I think he did a great job, when he was telling you that's I don't know, I don't want to give too much away, but that scene after he got in trouble, I think he did a really good job.
His name is Alcoya Brunson. So let me tell you, I've been casting this movie for years. I've been telling Regina Hall about it for years. And I was always scouring the internet. I met this young man named Alcoya Brunson maybe like 2 years before I started making this movie. I hired him. I I told him I was going to hire. I told him and his parents that I'm hiring this little man one day because I was working with him on a movie called Almost Christmas with Danny Glover, Monique,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
you remember the movie.
Yeah.
And so I think Gabrielle Union was in that movie. Anyway, so the point is that I've been sizing people up for years, and I found this woman online called Official Bonnet Chronicles, a character that wears a bonnet and
Yeah, yeah.
spits and
Tammy?
talks the truth. And
Uh-huh.
so, I didn't know it was Tammy.
Uh-huh.
Listen, I probably would, if I had known it was Tammy, I'd have never called her. I talked too much shit about basketball wives. I'd have been too embarrassed to call her. But
Yeah.
me and my character TJ been talking shit about basketball wives for at least a decade.
Uh-huh.
However long it's been around, we've
On the
been talking
YouTube series?
on the YouTube series. You can go
Yeah.
there right now. You can go there right now. But she showed up on set and she came to work. She was uncomfortably real. And Regina Hall was special as well. It's like I felt like I hired enough star power to sell the movie, get it in front of the people I needed to get it to, incentivize the investors. I mean the distributors, and then I tried to keep everyone else that we hired. I gave people who contributed to my crowdfunding campaign. I gave them their acting breaks. The first time ever acting was in my movie. You know who I hired? I hired. Remember the guy that said, "Don't give him any money.
Yeah.
That is my money."
Yeah.
That dude contributed to the crowdfunding campaign.
Oh, okay.
I
With
was
the
like,
African accent?
yeah, I was like, yo, send me a reel. I kept telling all my contributors, send reels, and they did, and they were funny, and they were funny.
Wow. And you shot the whole thing in Florida, right?
Part of it in Florida, part of it in California, because I have a property in Redondo Beach, California, and I'd been familiar with the area and saw that there were ways in which I could use that beach town aesthetic in Redondo Beach, California, to match the aesthetic of the parts of Florida that I wanted to shoot. And that's what we did. We shot in South Central, we shot in Torrance, Redondo Beach, or predominantly Torrance, Lawndale, and then we took it to Hollywood, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, and we also went to Orlando, Florida.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's really nice. How is it like working with Regina Hall?
Yeah, she just was our first time really getting to chop it up and do scenes together, and it was way too easy. It felt like we weren't doing anything. I was always insecure about our scenes because they felt so easy. And looking back at them, it just looks like two people talking.
Yeah.
She's a special actress.
No, she's a special actress. I was telling my friend, like, I'm like, man, she's just so naturally funny. You're very funny too, by the way. I like your sense of comedy. You don't do too much. You could say like one sentence and that's it. And you don't have to do much. You know what I mean? And your comedy comes through. I really like that. So this was the first film that you directed. As a director, how much freedom do you give your actors?
I really believe in, like, I've read all these books on directing and whatnot, and I remember reading this one book, and it was said, always whisper to your actor as though when giving acting notes, always whisper to them as though they are your lovers. And I know what that meant, because I didn't want a director telling me what he wanted me to do out loud in front of a bunch of people and making me feel even more insecure. I like it when it's a conversation between us, because then he gives me the opportunity to interpret his notes my way, rather than have a bunch of other people interpreting them for me. But also he gives me the opportunity to hit my castmates with the element of surprise. And so if that director, in fact, I'm working with a woman named Tessa Silverstein, I think. I don't want to butcher her name, but I'm working with a director right now on A Million Little Things, and I love her because she gives you these really fresh notes, and she's really laxed about it, but it also inspires these ideas that I get to then surprise my castmates with. And so I'm kind of the same way, where I just kind of like, it's a game where it's like a collaborative game. And so I take notes from my actors. Remember in the movie where we're on the bridge, not on the bridge, but on the little platform in the midst of all the alligators?
Yeah.
And we're taking pictures of each other?
Yeah.
That was that little kid's idea. That was Alcoya Brunson's idea, where the part where I'm directing him on how to take a picture.
Yeah,
That was his
exactly.
idea,
And then you
right?
extended your leg or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, like because I was telling him, I was like, you see me taking a picture while you smiling, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of like he was like, we should direct each other on how to take pictures. And so TJ wants him to take a prison pose picture, but doesn't, it's the conditioning. He's not aware that he's doing that, but that's just the way he sees it. You don't smile in pictures, you look hard.
Yeah.
Right. And so the little kid was like, how about I direct you on how to take a picture? And that inspired that whole situation on that bridge.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I'm doing all that to just basically give you examples of what I think is, I believe that it's important to make actors feel heard, included, and as though they have actually contributed to the project. And I've worked with writers who are they just want you to say every word the way every word should be said and written. And
Yeah.
I don't find that to be fun as an actor. And so I don't want to do that to my actors. And that was one advantage of being an actor and a director. Tell me your technique. Who did you train with? Because I probably trained with them too. Oh, you do Meisner? Cool.
Yeah,
we go back and forth Meisner until they were pissed off, and I go, action, and then we just keep that energy going. Oh, you train with Leslie Kahn? Cool. Okay, give me a build right here, and then give me a parenthetical right here, and then once you give me the parenthetical, give me an iteration. Boom, right there. She spoke that language. I spoke that language too, and that really helped.
Wow. Why do I have the feeling that there was a lot of improv with your scenes with Tammy?
Truth of the matter is, most of that was written. What Tammy was a master at was buttons. So remember the whole thing when she said, I'm not going to get a gold seal because even though my ass is on the outside, I act like I'm in prison. Mm-hmm. She put 2 words at the end of that. That sentence, all of that was written. But she put 2 words at the end of that took that to a whole nother level.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah. She is a master at the buttons. And so, and just the attitude, it looked, man, there's a line. And also it's because my directors of photography, I had a brother named John Rosario, John and David Brooke, but John Rosario was my DP. This brother is so gifted. And he shot Tammy Roman at an angle when we were sitting at the table. So when Tammy turns and said, oh, he's going to Orlando, it just seemed so uncomfortably real and like so much like a documentary. It was just, oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my God, it was so uncomfortable to like look at that. And I edited the film. So I'm looking at this stuff and being like, sometimes a little confused about where we actually started acting. Cause I'm like, oh shoot, that's the scene. Oh, I have to adjust my expectation to what's actually going on screen when I was editing, because sometimes Tammy was just uncomfortably real.
Wow. Yeah, man, props to you for editing it too, man. Like, did you use Premiere or?
Yeah, I started out trying to do it in iMovie, and I think that people do a great job in iMovie, but for me, it just, at the time, the Premiere version that I was using, which was about the back in 2017 version of Premiere, that version of Premiere just worked well for me.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd be able to, or, I shouldn't say much.
But as a director, who are some of your inspirations?
I'm gonna answer that question, but before I get to that, I'm gonna just go back a little bit and just say that one of the things that really helped me in the editing process was I had to take a break to shoot Night School. When I was on the set of Night School, they asked me on Night School, they were like, yo, I want you to give us a milder version of Tijuana Jackson. Can you do that? That's how they called and asked me if I was willing to do the job. Oh. Can we get a milder version of Tijuana Jackson? And I was like, let me think about that. And I really had to go away and think about it. And actually, it was my hair growing out that inspired the character. I was like, oh yeah, I know what to do. I called him back. I got it. Yes, I want to do it. And we relocated to Vancouver because we were kind of displaced at the time due to the hurricanes in Puerto Rico. And being on set now, I had different eyes because I had been directing myself. So I saw things differently. So when I went home to do the rest of my film, the whole time I'm on set of Night School, I'm editing my movie.
Right.
So when I left there and went back home to start filming the rest of my movie, I was now directing from an editor's perspective. Okay. Everybody was like, you're a different director. You've changed. Is it because I just knew how to economize my shots? We ended up finishing early because I knew what I needed. I knew what I was going to use. I knew what I wasn't going to use. I knew the angles that were most effective, you know, and my director of photography was a beast. And so we were able to have a shorthand that we didn't have prior, you know, and that helped a lot. So to answer your other question, which was
directors that you admire.
Directors that I admire. That's a good question. You know, it's interesting because real talk, I'm a fan of Spike Lee.
Spike. Oh, yeah.
I am a fan of Spike Lee, man. I am. I for my personal taste, like Spike Lee influenced me as a kid because there are pockets from She's Gotta Have It to an independent film that I saw at the Brooklyn Film Festival about this guy. He's you know, who had a history of like child molestation and
yeah, I don't think
I think it was called Red Hook or something like that. These films, he has a way where I'm like, you know, there's a lot to borrow from in a guy like that. And I've, you know, and honest to God, I've sat down and watched Godard and allowed it to influence me. There's a guy named Jesse Peretz who's his sensibility is very refreshing. He's directed a lot of episodes of Girls, but he's also directed, you know, a lot of other TV, but his style is nice. There's a guy named Rich Lewis who's a TV director with a sensibility that really helped influence me. And I like friggin' Quentin Tarantino. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like
it's like
yeah. But one of my biggest personal influences came from Ava DuVernay, believe it or not. Now, before Ava DuVernay was a huge star, she had made this independent film.
Middle of Nowhere?
I think that was it.
Yeah.
With what's the star of Middle of Nowhere?
David Oyelowo, and then there was a lady, I don't remember her name, but
no, I don't think this was David Oyelowo. No, this was I Will Follow.
Oh, I Will Follow. Okay.
and so listen, exactly. I'm going to tell you what the budget supposedly was. I think the budget was $50,000 for this film. But I'm liking the Ava DuVernay movement, right? And she wasn't the big star that she is now. $50,000 movie. But that little film, by the way, cold-blooded actors in this shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just on the strength of that, I'm like, oh, me and my girl are like, we going to that.
Yeah.
Right? So we walk up in there, and just so it was Sally Richardson, Whitfield, Tracy Toms, and Omari Hardwick.
Yeah, Omari was in it. Yeah.
And Omari, the first time I'd seen him, and I was like, ooh, he's good. Oh, okay, he's a beast. It's because it's a very still film, very cerebral, and you know, not a whole bunch of locations. And so I was like, that little film, independent film, won a contest held by AMC. And so because of that, it got to show in an actual AMC theater off of the 3rd Street Promenade.
Oh, in Santa Monica?
In Santa Monica. And me and my girl were like, I was like, baby, we going to this. She said, what is it? I was like, you'll see. Dude, now you wouldn't know who she was back then because if you weren't like following her and into her stuff, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Bro, I walked into the front door and there's a very familiar face sitting on a stool at the front door in the damn theater. It's Ava DuVernay. She's looking to me like she's looking to me like I'm a celebrity going, what are you doing here? I'm like, we here to support you. What you doing here? Why you know what I'm saying? And she greeted us with the biggest hug. Oh. And we talked. And I told her how much of an inspiration she was, and I walked my behind in and sat down. At which point, I was sold. I was like, that's the game right there. What she did influenced me, man. And she gave me something to aspire to. I looked at her do this keynote address for the 2000 13 film independent form.
Mm-hmm.
And at which point I kind of had an idea of what the blueprint for me as an independent filmmaker would be.
Mm.
And she's probably the most influential because of all of those things combined. Her faith in ownership, and making projects that matter to her, and her determination to maintain artistic integrity, but also her willingness to connect with audience and her savvy to market herself effectively. She's an anomaly to me. And everybody could say, I get it. It's easy for me to say that now because she's,
she's
award-winning, star-studded, but she really is something else, man. And she know hip hop. So
I mean, I guess I don't have to ask. We should be expecting more films from you following this one, right?
It's funny because, I love the idea of being able to control the narrative in media, and filmmaking is definitely one of those ways. But I'm honest to God not convinced that it's the most effective way. And because the era is changing, the world is changing. And so, yes, I'm on a set right now that proves that there is going to be a complete shift in the way film and television is made. But what we don't take into consideration sometimes when we're on the production side of it is that it's also, and it's already been in place, but it's also changing the way in which film and television will be consumed. And so I don't know if you need to make a movie to communicate those messages. I am not someone who has had this fantasy of being the world's most prolific director or being the world's biggest star. When it really boils down to it, for me, I feel like I'm coming from an environment of like a community of disenfranchised people. And I want to, whatever the most effective way to reach those people and help educate people and how to break past the caste biases of this system and to break past the caste biases of this judicial system within the American system, which was never intended for a lot of those disenfranchised people to begin with. I feel like as long as I'm doing that, I'm kind of on a good path. I feel like that could be in the form of storytelling. I've been offered to write and direct studio films now. I've been asked to write and direct. I asked to direct independent films now. I've even been asked to. The studio's even asked for me to make a Tijuana Jackson 2. All of this is possible, but I don't necessarily think. I don't know because COVID-19 and everything that's going on has changed the landscape of how content is consumed. And more importantly for me is to be involved in a way or to engage in a way that helps me communicate and advance what I believe are important messages most efficiently. And if that's film, that's film. If that's TJ's YouTube channel, that's TJ's YouTube channel. If that's a podcast and a YouTube channel, you know what I'm saying? If Patreon is Patreon. If it's my app, the PEP is the PEP, whatever,
Wow. Yeah, no, I understand, man. What are some of the feedback have you gotten from people about the film?
Surprising, man. It's really surprising. You think that I really thought that a lot of people weren't going to get the film. I felt like a lot of people would fall onto the film or discover the film and be like, what the hell is this? And not get it. It's cryptic. It's crass. It's unique. And it's very specific, but I've had so many surprising compliments, like people being like, yo.
You're surprised, really? And then you'd be like, yeah, it's expected.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you the truth. The first time it showed at the film festival, it showed at the Florida Film Festival. And this isn't like an Oscar qualified film festival.
Right.
So there are people in their 60s and 70s watching this film. My lady's about to cry because she's afraid that once this movie starts, people gonna get up and walk out.
Mm-hmm.
My whole family's there. My mom, her whole, her whole crew. They sit in the front, but they behave like they in the peanut gallery. Just talk through the whole thing. And we're all nervous as hell.
Mm-hmm.
And these people were laughing to an extreme that made me go, whoa, that was not expected. But even after the film, the questions that they had were so genuine. So it gave me an idea that there might be a universal appeal. But still, I was like, these are people who know what independent film is. There's going to be a lot of people coming from the commercial who use film as a form of escape once it gets released, who don't know much about independent film, who are going to fall on this and find it slow and, not interesting. And man, to keep it real, some people have actually come across it and been like, I was expecting it to be they ultimately wanted a bigger production. But man, I'm shocked. And every platform that the film is on at the time that we're speaking, out of 5 stars, the film is rated 5 stars. If you're talking about Amazon, Google Play, iTunes,
yeah,
it's rated 5 star and all. I didn't expect that. I'm keeping it 100. Did not expect that. I wasn't even reading the ratings and the reviews in the beginning because I thought that they were going to be so bad, because I just thought that there's a lot of people, because whether we want to accept it or not, it's a lot of people who are disconnected from the world that I'm depicting, who are probably going to be critiquing the film.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't expect them to get it. I'm just surprised. So the feedback that I've been getting has been really, really positive. People telling me that they watched it and then thought that it was wise for their children to watch it. So they bought it and showed it to their kids. And I'm like, word. I had one you can read the comments, they're all on my thing, but I had this one lady was like, she homeschools her kids. She has a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old. So the 17-year-old is supposed to be writing a paper that's supposed to be, he ends up writing the paper, and it ends up being like a page long. And when she goes over the assignment, she goes, you're only supposed to do a paragraph. And though there's a lot of good information in here, let's see how you can cut this back to just being a paragraph. And her 15-year-old goes, why should he have to do that? You heard what Tijuana Jackson said. People expect the bare minimum. It's up to us to do more. I was gone. I was gone, bro. I was gone. And then, it's been a lot of that. People talking about nuggets. You see thousands of posts online already. The movie just came out. There's thousands of posts online quoting this character.
Yeah. Wow.
Very big surprise, man.
Man, yeah. It was amazing to watch. Anyway, congratulations, man. Please continue to spread your messages, whether online, whether on YouTube, whether through films. Thank you so much for doing this interview. It was great talking to you and so much fun. And I look forward to your future projects. And thank you.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate being here. If you're interested in catching the film, just go to TijuanaJackson.com, and it'll give you access to where you can go to a drive-in theater and see it, or where you can watch it online. It's TijuanaJackson.com. And if you want to help me promote the movie and be a part of my street team, please text me 954-228-8380. Thank you. Perri Pierre.
Thanks a lot. I will put the link the link of the movie on the description, so people will be able to just click on it. All right. Thanks a lot, brother.
Have a good one. Good talking to you, bro.